93 Boxing, I'm back with a quick video. Errol Spence has been lately talking about Keith Thurman. He went to Sway in the morning. He was invited there after the Kell Brook fight, and he was asked about what he thinks about Kell Brook versus Errol Spence versus the Keith Thurman showdown, because pretty much that's a unification fight, and Keith Thurman's pretty much a unified world champion. But hey, Errol Spence has a shot to unify as well in this situation. Errol Spence said things like Keith Thurman used to get knocked out in the amateurs, which is interesting because I didn't really know too much about it, and amateurs is not, whatever happens in the amateur does not mean that it's going to happen in the pro, but it is what it is. Apparently he used to get knocked out, and I don't think Errol Spence would lie. But the thing is, some of his hype that he's been getting, right? And I like Errol Spence. I actually like him. He seems humble. He seems like a good fighter. And I do think he's a bit overrated, but at the same time, I don't see any, he might be someone, even if he's overrated, that doesn't mean that anyone else will beat him. He might end up being the best welterweight out there. So if he faces Keith Thurman, right? Actually, no, before facing Keith Thurman, the fact that his hype he's getting, and prior to Kell Brook fight, the hype that he got was beating up Algieri and Bondu worse than some other elite fighters did. But more importantly, people forget to realize that some of the other hype came from outside what happened in the professional ring on the spotlight. It's what happened in the gym. Like, he made Adrian Broner quit and apparently knocked him out cold. Adrian Broner cried apparently. Things like that, and him beating up Floyd Mayweather apparently, giving him a black eye. The thing is, I feel like, I watched Travis Gotti boxing recently, and he did make a point, like, whatever happens in the gym should stay in the gym, and I kind of agree with that. I feel like, saying once or twice is alright, and I know Errol Spence is asked about the situation, but I feel like he does bring it up quite more often than needed be, given the fact that it's the gym, right? You might be more prepared than Floyd. You might be more prepared than Broner. That's the reason why I feel like whatever happens in the gym stays in the gym, because what happens in the real fight, like in a real professional boxing match, we take that into account because both fighters are ready, or at least they're supposed to be ready. But in sparring, one fighter could be like coming off a huge holiday. Meanwhile, you're sparring a guy who's been training and his fight is coming up like maybe 3 weeks later. So it's completely different, right? And I feel like it's almost borderline disrespectful, even though I don't think Errol Spence is trying to do that. It's borderline disrespectful. Because Floyd Mayweather made a point, people may have done this and that on the sparring, but at the end of the day, no one did anything to him in a real boxing match, which is crazy. It's true. It's true. And he also said Keith Thurman is physically not as big or strong as Kell Brook, which is true. I do agree with that. And one funny comment, Keith Thurman did say that I'm not at my peak yet. And Errol Spence says, well, you've been a pro for a while now, so how can you not be at your peak yet? But you know what? I personally think Keith Thurman is not at his peak yet. I do see him improving every fight, significant amount. And I personally think Errol Spence is a little bit underestimating Keith Thurman. Whatever happened in the amateur does not mean it's going to happen in the pros, right? It's not going to happen in the pros necessarily. It might do, but it might not. The reason why I feel like he's underestimating Keith Thurman is he does compare his own speed with Keith Thurman. And I feel like there's a huge difference between their speed. Seriously, there's a huge difference between Errol Spence and Keith Thurman's speed. Keith Thurman is a lot faster, especially with the footwork. Keith Thurman, I don't know if he has the best defense, and Errol Spence does have advantages over him, but Keith Thurman does have advantages over Errol Spence. I do think Keith Thurman hits harder, honestly. I do think Keith Thurman hits a lot harder. Keith Thurman he doesn't set up his punches as well. He doesn't break people down as well as Errol Spence. But he does have that one punch KO, okay, he hasn't knocked out people with one shot in a while, or even knocked out people full stop. But at the same time, he does have that. He does have a lot more power than Errol Spence, man. And honestly, I'm anxious to see what Errol Spence will react like if he gets caught with one of them Keith Thurman shots. Errol Spence does not, in my opinion, doesn't seem to be very good at hitting moving targets. And I think Keith Thurman can outpace him. I feel like Kell Brook, when he was throwing punches, can outpace Errol Spence. He was definitely hitting him. Keith Thurman, not as accurate as Kell Brook, but still accurate enough and faster than Kell Brook with a lot harder punch. But then again, Keith Thurman also has some weaknesses. I feel like that body is very important. And he's not a very good inside fighter. Keith Thurman is not a very good inside fighter. He doesn't hold as much. So he's not, that can give him problems. And even if he tries to hold, Errol Spence is very physically big compared to Keith Thurman. But, I feel like Errol Spence needs to calm down a little bit with letting people know about what happened in the gym. I know it's still quite impressive. I know it's still experience. Like, taking, for example, as I mentioned, the Floyd Mayweather situation, he could be coming off a long layoff and stuff like that. But, like, Adrian Broner, for example, right? He sparred Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner's really a 140 guy at best. I mean, what's so impressive? I mean, I know you stopped Adrian Broner, who's a high-level fighter, but what's so impressive? Is it, like, really, really that impressive? I know a lot of people are not able to do that, but still, you being a huge 147 fighter, I don't know how you make 147. You probably should be a 154. And Adrian Broner should be a 140 at the highest, maybe even 135. I don't know, man. And it's still quite impressive considering that Marcus Maidana wasn't able to stop him. But that's the thing. Adrian Broner may have not been in shape and shit. You know what I'm saying? And, he also brings this hype about the fact that he spars heavyweights and things like that. But it's sparring, right? Whatever happens in the gym stays in the gym. Just because he sparred a heavyweight. You see what I'm trying to say? But I do like Errol Spence. I do think just because he sparred a heavyweight doesn't mean you'll beat a heavyweight in a real fight. But it does say a lot about Errol Spence that he's tough. He can take a good shot probably. Because even if they don't load up on shots, you're probably getting used to the weight difference a little bit, the strength difference, the power difference a little bit. So, hey, that's still helping you. And it's still some hype. And it's still pretty impressive. And I know some of these, Errol Spence keeps mentioning a lot of times. I know some people keep asking him a lot, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I just feel like if I sparred someone, right, I could have been coming off a bad layoff, bad day, whatever. I don't want him to go around telling people about this. In all honesty, like, he might be almost ready for a fight and I'm nowhere near ready for any fight and I just spar him and I don't look too good. I don't want him to tell people around, like, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't think he should be telling people about this too much. Like, I'm fairly sure there's so many other fighters, right? I'm fairly sure people like Floyd Mayweather Jr., people like Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, they've been sparring some good fighters possibly. And they probably got the better of the other fighter. But they don't go around telling people, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, I had Canelo Alvarez kill the person in sparring. You don't hear people talking about that too much. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's like no one really does that. No one really brags on it. I'm fairly sure a lot of fighters had these type of performances during sparring, but they don't go around telling because you don't want that person to be. I don't want, like, no fighter wants, if they got the worst, if they, like, didn't do well in sparring, they don't want his quote-unquote sparring partner to go around telling people about what happened during the sparring session, because what happens in the gym stays in the gym. He may have not been ready and this and that. So I feel like it's a bit, I don't think Errol Spence should be talking about that. And I'm fairly sure he made it clear that it's only sparring. He may have not been ready, this and that. But he needs to make that more clear. And I don't think Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman fight will happen anytime soon. If it does, I'll be shocked. I think Keith Thurman is coming off an injury, which a lot of people are saying fake injury. I didn't really look into that too much. Could be fake, could be real, I don't know. And I think Errol Spence will probably take a fight in between. It probably won't be a Kell Brook rematch. It will probably be anything else. It'll probably be I don't know, someone at 147, maybe a mandatory. But yeah, let me know what you think. 93 boxing. I'm out.